So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Steve had to say here, and then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to Steve here.
He's a 19-year-old kid, and I'm rooting for him. Okay, I want to get that out of the way. Here's the reality of the situation. Bronny James, right now, does not belong anywhere near the NBA. He's not anywhere near talented enough to actually have a position in the NBA and have an NBA contract. The thing that really bothered me at the press conference to introduce him and Connect as the new rookies on this Lakers team.
His fashion?
It wasn't the fashion. I don't care about fashion. What bothered me was the insistence on the Laker organization, namely one Rob Pelinka, to say he's earned this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stop. Just stop right there. The only reason that Bronny James is a Laker is because his father wants him to be a Laker. Just say it. Don't pretend like, well, he earned this. He didn't earn anything. There are literally thousands of college basketball players that have very similar numbers to Bronny James, and none of them would ever in a million years get a sniff of the NBA. The only reason Bronny James has a contract with the Lakers is his father. Just say it for what it is. And this is something that you have to address, because we're going to get into more about strikeout with the Lakers in their efforts to try to upgrade this team and why this is happening. I got a little insight a little bit later on in a text exchange I had with one Michael Thompson.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, so I'll tell you more about that a little bit later on. But this charade, I mean, just call it for what it is. It's a sideshow. And it will be history. It'll be the first father-son ever to play in the same team. But the idea that Bronny James earned this, or he belongs, he doesn't. And we're seeing it in full scale today in this Summer League game. Not only can't he shoot, he can't play defense. Like, he's on the ground. Like, they're doing crossovers and literally putting him on the seat of his pants. I remember, and I've had a friend of mine who actually announced his high school games. So I remember a couple of years ago asking him, give me the insight. How good is Bronny? He goes, how good is Bronny? I'll say this. He is probably the fourth best player on this team.
And this was in high school.
In high school.
Okay.
So he was the fourth best player on his high school team, which is why his senior year he made second team all-league. I mean, Bronny James, I'm not blaming the kid. I'm not. He has a dream to play. A lot of kids have the dream to play in the NBA, and 99.999% of them will never get that opportunity. He's getting the opportunity for only one reason, and that's his father, period.
So you heard what he had to say. Now, what I find interesting, apart from the fact that, as I said before, that he's saying it, I also find it interesting that what he just said is something that some people were saying. As a matter of fact, I came across a segment on Gil's Arena with Gilbert Arenas and Rashard McCann going back and forth. And they were arguing these two positions. Gilbert was saying that, look, I think Bronny James going to the NBA is the best place for him, because he believes that being in the NBA, learning how to be a professional, being in practice, going against players like D'Lo and others is going to prepare him. So in the future, he's going to be a much more advanced player. Whereas Rashard McCann was like, he believes that if he had stayed in college, he would have been able to develop even more. So by the time he got to the NBA, his development would be accelerated because he would already have been a better player. And they were kind of going back and forth with that thought. Look, whether or not Bronny James deserves to be in the NBA or not is irrelevant, because he's already in the NBA. And now we're getting to the point where his production is going to speak for itself, right? His production is ultimately going to speak for itself. Bronny is going to be the one that's going to have to go out there and play very well and represent himself and represent the Lakers, right? It's not going to be, we can't talk Bronny into being a great NBA player. He's ultimately going to be the one that's going to have to go out there and prove it. Now, what I like about Bronny, I've been saying it now for weeks, is that he seems to have a lot of emotional maturity, right? If you listen to him talk about the things surrounding him, he seems to be very, like, cool about it. He's cool as a fan. He's not really bothered by things. It seems that things just kind of roll off of his shoulder. It seems to be people around him that are much more emotional about the things being said. Now, here's my main point. I believe that gentlemen like this, what's the gentleman's name? Steve Hartman, should be able to voice their opinion if they are evaluating Bronny James as a basketball player. I think that there are a lot of people that are out there trying to silence other people by saying, "Oh no, but Bronny James, y'all are just haters. Y'all are just hating on Bronny." It's like, no, but we do this with every other NBA player. So why is it different now that all of a sudden they're talking about Bronny? Number one. Number two, why should it be different? Why do you guys want Bronny to get preferential treatment? We talked about Ben Simmons. We talk about James Harden. We talk about Russell Westbrook. We talk about Kawhi Leonard. We talk about Luka. We talk about all the players in the NBA. And if Bronny James is getting the type of attention that he's getting, and we all understand why that is, because it's certainly not for his production, then people should be able to have varying opinions. When Victor Wembanyama came in his first Summer League game, he didn't play well, people roasted him. They did. And there wasn't anybody out here talking about, people were saying he's a bust and all of this stuff. And then Victor ultimately came back and started playing well. Like, okay, pump the brakes. This dude is the real deal. But the fact is, they spoke about him. And now what I'm seeing is these people out here talking about you're a hater. It's like, no, we're talking sports. We talk about all these athletes, all of them. So why should Bronny be any different? And personally, I don't think Bronny wants to be